Bad video games are fun to talk about, some even make a living off it, but in reality, they can absolutely suck to play. Over the years, I've played and reviewed my fair share of stinkers, but life is short and generally speaking, I tend to avoid them. So, to change things up, in today's video, I present 5 bad retro games. Riding Hero is a motorcycle racing game developed by SNK and released on all 3 Neo Geo systems. The game is an obvious rip-off of Sega's Hang-On. Right from the start, the opening grid is a near-carbon copy. Also duplicated is the lack of self-centering. Instead, your bike will hold a specific turning radius, mimicking a full sit-down arcade cabinet. The graphics are pleasant as you would expect from a Neo Geo title, with plenty of sprite scaling zipping along at a solid frame rate. There are even real-world circuits, if you care about that sort of thing. Unfortunately, Riding Hero has a series of flaws ruining the experience. First, the collision detection is brutal, and getting too close to an opponent will make you grind to a halt. Worse yet, when your opponents clip you, you again come to a halt. You can be cruising along and having a race completely ruined due to no fault of your own. The second issue is the brutal time limit. If you get pushed into a sign, it's curtains, and you have to repeat the whole thing over, because you will run out of time. It's as if SNK had never played a racing game before, and the game lacks any sort of balance. Some of these courses are the most tedious racing game experiences I've ever had. On the surface, Riding Hero seems competent, but actually playing it is pure frustration. Avoid this one at all costs. Toy Story was developed by Tiertex and released on the Game Boy in 1996. Fans of the Atari Jaguar should recognize the name Tiertex, as they also developed the questionable Supercross 3D. Somehow, Toy Story is actually worse than Supercross 3D. The game attempts to capture the pre-rendered look of the 16-bit versions of the game, but with the limited color palette, Toy Story looks a mess. Woody looks horrendous, and the game lacks any real detail. Even worse is the frame rate. Despite looking exceptionally basic, Toy Story chugs along at just a few frames per second. While it looks choppy in this video, it's somehow even worse when you are trying to play it. And I'm using the word play loosely because Toy Story is just painful to sit through. The jumping feels miserable, lacking any sort of momentum or precision. Worse yet, it is all too easy to fall through platforms. With poor jumping, the rest of the adventure simply falls apart. Toy Story for the Game Boy is the ultimate cash grab. The game exists simply because selling a Toy Story video game was a profitable proposition in 1996. I doubt Disney or the publisher cared much about the quality of the product, and that is a shame. During the Master System's lifespan, Sega ported most of their arcade hits to the 8-bit platform. Unfortunately, the Master System really wasn't capable of reproducing Sega's cutting-edge arcade gems, and Afterburner is probably the worst offender. Rather than a fast frame rate with smoothly scrolling sprites giving a fantastic sensation of depth and speed, we are left with a choppy recreation that is both confusing and lacking all of the excitement which made the arcade game so much fun. It is extremely difficult to tell when something is moving towards you or away from you, and the simple act of flying a jet, firing missiles while avoiding enemies is all but gone. Instead, all you can really do is move from side to side, erratically hoping to avoid things and not get shot down. All of the hope in the world just isn't going to save you, and the lack of continues assures you're not likely to get very far before having to start all over. The highlight of the game is listening to the FM title screen music with the Powerbase Mini FM, because once you press start, it is all downhill. Now, I'm a big fan of the Master System, and I'm rather fond of Afterburner, but Afterburner on the Master System is dreadful. The CDI isn't exactly a gaming powerhouse, and 1991's Pinball didn't exactly get the platform off on the right foot. The game starts off promising enough, with 4 different tables and high-quality music switching as you browse through them. But much like Afterburner, the title screen is really the highlight of the game. All 4 tables are sorry excuses for Pinball. First, the flippers aren't realistic in the slightest, and they point down, way too far. The tables themselves are simplistic, with no real shots to go for, no modes to unlock, and no interesting targets to hit. The meltdown table features a hole in the playfield, assuring if your ball ever heads to the right side of the table, it will drain. The spring break table has bumpers right above the flippers, all but assuring your ball will quickly drain down the middle. The dogfight table has meters on each flipper, and if they run out of juice, they stop responding. There is a reason pinball tables don't feature things like this, because they are awful ideas sucking the fun right out of the game. The art direction is also terrible, looking like something I would have created in Kid Pics back in 1992. Everything is void of detail, and someone got a bit crazy with the gradient tool. On top of all of this, the high-quality music heard on the table select screen does not play during the actual gameplay. In short, pinball for the CDI is a tragedy. However, Checkered Flag somehow manages to be worse than all of these games. Released on the Jaguar in 1994 in an attempt to show off the system's polygon capabilities, Checkered Flag ends up showing how ill-equipped Atari really was. Checkered Flag fails at being a functioning game in nearly every way. While the car models are okay, and the environment's appealing in their own dated way, the controls are inexcusably bad. Your car is destined to accelerate towards walls, and no amount of tapping the D-pad or braking will change this fact. It is nearly impossible to complete a lap without flipping your car, and if you somehow manage not to hit the wall, the AI will stop for no reason or just drive into you, as if the game is programmed to not allow you a clean lap. Combine the horrendous controls and stupid AI with uninspired track design and a pitiful frame rate, and you have one of the worst games ever created. I've been playing this game for 15 years and have spent countless hours trying to crack the Checkered Flag code, hoping the developers did hide a decent game in here, if I could just figure out how the developers intended the game to be played. To no avail. The game is basically an incomplete beta and was never intended to see the light of day. Since its release, folks have defended Checkered Flag, declaring it realistic or challenging, but this is nonsense. The game is a train wreck and one of the worst I've ever played. So, there you have it. 5 bad games developed by 5 different teams, published by 5 different companies, and released on 5 different platforms. Now, this is not a definitive list, nor is it intended to be a worst of. And I'm sure all of you have games you absolutely hate, so be sure to leave a comment and let me know which games you despise.